Hi, it's Andrew Eborn here again with Lives on Lockdown, and I'm delighted to be joined yet again by Orthodontist of the Year, Claire Nightingale. How are you, Claire?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I am amazing. It's so good to see you, and I love the traffic in the background. People going.
No, as you can see, we've still got the builders working.
It's got to be good. And I love the bookshelves. And last time I saw you, you matched the furniture. It's all synchronized and everything, so it looked good.
Do I sort of, perhaps I could be a cushion, I think.
A cushion is good. Cushion the pain of orthodontist. And there are no pain at all because you do it with such a delight. Now, where are we at the moment? I know, it's all good. Where are we at the moment with when's people going to come back? Because you hear different things. The government, and I think you were telling me, you find out in the daily briefings, basically.
We found out by one of those little ticker tape messages across the BBC news screen. How marvellous. The valued profession that we are, apparently, being invited to return to work with the news being shared with the public before our professional bodies know about it.
So it is extraordinary because people sitting at home would just say, look, how does this work in practice? People would assume that you'd all get in a room, your big bodies would sit down with the government bodies and the scientific advisors and said, okay, what needs to be done? This is a realistic time frame. Is that what happens in practice?
Not at all. Yes, you would think, wouldn't you, that there would be that level of careful planning, but the announcement caught everybody on the hoof. So, and when you actually think about what we have to do to get back up and running, I have been planning for the return from the moment we closed, of course. So I'd already got a spreadsheet of the patients that needed to come in and the order in which they needed to come in. I had already put in some orders for PPE a number of weeks ago, and I put my eggs in a number of baskets. I've ordered through a number of different suppliers in the hope that when it's needed, it will come. But guess what? It isn't going to be here on time. So, and of course, we have to give, as employers, we have to give our staff a week's notice to come off furlough in addition. So a whole scramble of things. And when that announcement came, it came out on a Thursday evening. And I had given my receptionist the week off on annual leave. So it was going to be me manning the telephones the following day. So I anticipated a sort of a floodgate opening and all of my patients in treatment being on the phone at 9:30 wanting to come in.
Everybody hears about PPE, which years ago was just philosophy, politics, and economics. But people now understand PPE about the personal protection equipment and that sort of stuff. What do you need? Talk me through what you need.
Shall I do here's one I got earlier?
Yeah, you should do. Go on then. Talk me through what you need, and then we can work it all out. And because then I think we get a real sense of what it means on the ground, because rather than just all the spin that we hear in the media, people say, oh, the dentists are open now, and this is open then, and the schools are open everywhere else. If we know what needs to be done, then we'll have a good idea of it. Now,
okay.
Claire's gone on. Here we go.
Let me just show you a few deliveries. So I have bought gowns to cover our uniforms. I have upgraded our footwear. Okay. So we now have wiped down cleanable clogs. Frankly, these have been in standard use anyway. I could quite easily have made the decision to buy these years ago, but I've decided on some rather nice embroidered trainers. But sadly, they're fabric, so they don't wipe down, so they're no longer any use. Then we have disposable hair nets. Now, because I'm very pro and I'm anti-waste, so I haven't rushed off to spend lots of money on lots of disposable hair nets. So you're going to really laugh when you see my alternative. So I have...
Hold it up a bit higher. Let's have a look.
Some washable sleeping hair nets.
Oh, they're wonderful. Do the patients have to wear these as well?
No, this is for the staff. So I'm not quite sure whether we're really going to go with this, to be honest. But I was kind of lateral thinking, and I thought maybe a fetching black bonnet.
Oh, I think they're stunning.
Just to cover the hair so that any aerosol from the air descends on our hair, and rather than us wiping our hair, we instead will take off our fetching black bonnets and stick them in the washing machine, you see.
People always assume, we always hear this thing about PPE. Is it standardised as to what you need, or you're just working it out yourself?
Well, I think that there is guidance, of course, you know, but we haven't been told definitively by one body of opinion exactly what we have to do. So the world of dentistry has now become divided into aerosol generating procedures and non-aerosol generating procedures. Okay, so an aerosol generating procedure, understandably, is one that's generated by a high-speed dental handpiece with lots of water coming out. Okay, and when someone goes to a hygienist and they have their teeth cleaned using an ultrasonic handpiece with lots of water, then that's quite clearly a dental aerosol. However, there is a lot of debate as to whether, if we just pick up our little 3-in-1, which is a source of high pressure air, and we combine it with water, if I puff a piece of air on a tooth, is that an aerosol? If I puff the air and I combine it with some water, is that an aerosol? Is it an aerosol if it lasts for 2 seconds, or is it an aerosol if we wash down a tooth for 30 seconds? You see, so that, you know, and if I pick up a slow hand piece and I polish a little bit of glue off a tooth, which is what I need to do as an orthodontist, does it become an aerosol if I do it for 2 seconds or 30 seconds? Can I do 1 tooth, or do I have to do 20? And therein lies the debate. So basically what we are all doing is we are all making risk assessments and using our own common sense and judgment. And of course there's heated debate, because everything links around the definition of an aerosol generator procedure, because once you've done an aerosol generator procedure, once it's over, you have to let your dental surgery stand for an entire hour before you can bring the next patient in. And
yes, that's what I was going to say. I was going to suggest that obviously you assume it's the worst case scenario, you get as much protection as possible. But if you have to wait for an hour afterwards, your waiting times, obviously, well, you lose 2 appointments.
Your consequence for patient throughput is enormous. So it's not just about acquiring the kit. So to do an aerosol generating procedure, and in fact, I have to show you the piece de resistance. So here is.
There you go. That's that wonderful mask.
FFP3 mask, which I have been tested upon and passed. So I know that I can go into work now safely with my bonnet and my mask. Sorry. The
bonnet, the mask, the shoes. You also have a gown type thing as well, do you? You wear a gown as well?
Yeah. So I will be wearing my beautiful blue beautician's uniform, which is my preferred look. However, and of course now the reading glasses, you know.
Absolutely, the reading glasses are very good, very fetching. I like this. And when do you wear the big visors then?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, that's going to come over the top. So right. I'm going to have. Okay, so really, I should really kind of do a demonstration, shouldn't I?
Yeah, let's run.
I've got to prepare you for the next time you see me. Let's see. This is fresh out of the packet. Oh. So you liking what you see so far?
I think you can carry anything off, Claire. I think whatever they make you put on, but it's safe, you know. So
okay, so you've got. There we go. That's the hairnet. Okay, now can I put on the mask without bumping the hairnet off? Is the next question. Looking good. You can't hear me though.
What was that?
Yes, exactly. Glasses. Okay, so that's now my first layer. Visor over the top and a big wraparound blue apron.
So tell me, in terms of how long, we'll see pictures of the doctors and nurses on the wards at the moment, and they're getting very hot and very uncomfortable. Talk to me about the comfort level of that.
Well, I kind of, this is stage one, isn't it? And I probably won't end up wearing a ridiculous sleeping hat. I did do one day as a runner in intensive care unit in Watford General. And yes, it was like, and I did, of course, therefore have all the proper PPE and the masks. And I went, I think I lasted about an hour before I needed a comfort break. And then after that, I thought, this is too expensive. I better not drink another sip of water for the whole day. So I think I probably then did about 6 consecutive hours of wearing it without a break. But partly the issue was the worry that maybe the mask had dislodged and I wasn't aware of it, that sort of thing. So I then made a suggestion that there should be a mirror in intensive care. So, just to reassure oneself that the PPE is all still intact. So they put one in. But so yeah, I mean, I think people tell me it's very uncomfortable. The mask is the worst thing, in actual fact. And of course, in intensive care, we didn't change the masks. We moved around the whole unit and we left our face undisturbed. Whereas in dental practice, the expectation might be that we should be changing the mask for every patient. However, I would also expect if our face is undisturbed and untouched, that we could move between surgeries and see people. So
that was going to be my question, just clarifying. I mean, how often you have to change the PPE?
Well, I mean, I suppose the textbook answer is going to be after every aerosol generating procedure. You would expect, of course, we would always change our gloves between patients as a matter of course, and aprons and masks. So assume that with a proper aerosol generating procedure, there'll be a complete fresh set of kit per patient. However, the problem is that we actually can't get kit to treat one patient at the moment. So how long is the supply of FFP3 masks going to last to treat the backlog of patients that are needing our care?
So, and that's the big problem, isn't it?
Significant problem. Yeah, not so much for me as an orthodontist.
First time you discovered anything was on the news, on the ticker tape, saying, you can open now, and you thought, well, no, we can't, because we need to do the separation. We need a certain amount of PPE. You've kindly taken us through the kit. And have you been given an indication as to when you might be able to get that?
Okay, well, I mean, I sent out an immediate email to my patients by 10:30 on that Thursday night, just so that I could explain that we would not be opening on the 8th of June. However, what I have done is I've arranged for us to open on the 15th of June. So in fact, this last week, my receptionist has been contacting all of my patients in active treatment to offer them appointments. I have written to my staff to bring them off furlough, so they will be coming off furlough on Tuesday. And in fact, this last few days, I'm actually having the ventilation system in my practice improved. You're going to like this cat coming through now.
We always haven't seen the cat. What's the cat called?
Well, unimaginatively Snowy. This is Snowy.
Snow is a good name for a cat.
Off she goes. I'm doing all sorts of things actually. So I've upgraded my ventilation in the practice. So I have 2 internal surgeries, and the 3rd surgery has a window that doesn't open. Now, we have air conditioning on all the time. It's not a particularly pleasant work environment, but it was tolerable. Of course, now I understand that we have to have a mechanism of bringing fresh air into the room so that we can do what's called a certain volume of air changes per hour. So rather than spend a lot of money in investing in portable kits that recycle existing air, I've decided to take it to the next level and actually invest in the structure of the business, of the building. And I'm having a ventilation engineer who literally is right now installing ventilation systems beneath a suspended ceiling. So he will finish tomorrow, and then on Tuesday my staff will come off furlough, and I shall go in and we will start training, and I shall treat my PPE with greater respect than I have done in this interview, and we will be practicing our donning and our doffing routines, putting it on, taking it off. We'll be walking through in a kind of dress rehearsal as to the patient journey. How will we manage things? Because we're not going back to the same old way of working. We're actually going back to very restricted working, where we have to stop people interacting. Now, of course, I love people interacting, and I'm going to have to get used to a totally different way of working, where we have to ask the patient's parents to stay off-site. We'll have to ask them to stay in the car. I can't do that lovely updating in person after every appointment. That's going to have to be done by email or a separate telephone call. The waiting room, we're going to have to discourage people from sitting in the waiting room. So I've cancelled my subscription to all magazines, for example, because they're now a contact risk. So, I mean, the most important thing is that we triage our patients to ensure that we only see well people. So we can only see well people. We keep well people as far apart from each other and us as we possibly can. We bring the patients in, do the treatment, let them go before the next patient arrives so that they don't pass each other. We have to let the surgery stand before we can clean them thoroughly. And I've also invested in something called a fogger. Are you aware of a fogger?
Tell me about a fogger.
They were going to be spraying the surgery down with some hypochlorous acid. Because apparently that knocks out the viral aerosol and also disinfects all the surfaces. So, so since the beginning of, I never knew of these things before COVID, but I've now understood how to improve the ventilation in my practice. I've understood how to improve the disinfection within the practice. We have enhanced PPE, we have very defined social distancing plans. And the great thing is I'm going to be going back to work providing proper patient care, and I'm not quite as busy going back as I thought. There are some people that are still a bit cautious about wanting to come in. There are still quite a lot of people who are outside of London. Some people aren't going to come back and see me till September. So it's not going to be a stampede of people coming back. It's going to be a slow burn. But today, I have literally, before we spoke, I've just accepted 2 ClinChecks. That's an Invisalign course of treatment. So I've got 2 new patients who are eager to get up and running, who have paid a deposit to get their aligners manufactured. And that's a really great feeling that we are on our way back to normal. So,
very good. You mentioned about checking that people are not ill. What checks are you actually going to do?
Well, it's going to be a verbal triage. Okay, so whether we'll have to see how it works practically, because it's quite a big ask for as well as staffing the day, that an individual has got to phone all the patients for the next day and go through the routine questions of, are you feeling well? Have you developed a cough? Have you got a temperature? Is anyone in your household ill or shielding? Because of course people don't pick up the phone when you need them to pick up the phone. So making 18 phone calls probably means in fact you have to make 36, but I shall be incorporating these questions perhaps into my email reminder service, reminding people that they mustn't come if there's any suggestion of not being ill. Of not being well.
Yes, not being ill.
Right. Not being well.
I know what you mean. But if somebody gets them, this is what they're saying about what happens now, the new stage, and just make sure we're clear on this. So the new stage, if somebody gets it, you have to notify all the people you've been in touch with, which is why they're talking about groups and so on and so forth. If one of your patients is subsequently discovered to have it, what will be the impact on you and your staff?
Well, okay, so first of all, I have to say that despite all the precautions we're taking, I'm anticipating that it's very, very low risk. So I listened to a webinar last week or earlier this week, the days merge into one, where apparently before lockdown, there were 1 in 10 Londoners who were infectious. And that was at a time that we were not taking any extra precautions.
1 in 10.
1 in 10. And now it's thought that that number has reduced to 1 in 400.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a very, and indeed one of my colleagues was talking earlier about it now being down to 1 in 1,300 chance of an infectious patient coming in. So, I'm not going to be dismissive and say, because the probability is so low, that I'm not going to take the appropriate precautions. Of course I am. But let's just put that into the context of it being highly unlikely that somebody is going to come onto the premises in a period that they are infectious and asymptomatic. So, because that's the real worry, people who are feeling well but are infectious. However, in that event that someone would come in and then subsequently tell us that they are COVID positive, then now we should be in a scenario where it doesn't have a massive impact on the business for 2 reasons. First of all, because we'll have been practicing our social distancing, so that person should not have come into contact with any other patient on the premises, okay? And secondly, because all the staff will be wearing PPE, including my receptionist, who will be wearing a mask and a visor. So patient-to-patient transmission should not happen because no one should meet. Patient to staff and staff to patient transmission should not happen because everybody's wearing PPE.
Okay, so in a nutshell, if they get it, it won't affect you or your practice.
They won't have got it from me.
Okay, no, that's also good to know. And fascinating stuff. So open for business, effectively, not this coming week, but on the 15th.
Back to work on the 15th of June in terms of greeting our patient, welcoming our patients back. But I've never really been off work, of course, but back to work as a team on Tuesday. And who knows when we will be back to normal.
Right. And the ongoing supply, of PPE, is that okay now?
No, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, you know, I've been pretty organised and ordered PPE ages ago, but it's not arrived. And indeed, today I got a notice from Kent Express, one of our suppliers, saying they've been let down with their supply chain, and now the supply of masks that they had promised are not coming in. They've offered to switch me to another supply that's more reliable, but that won't be till the 18th of June.
So when you order your stuff, I mean, how many, you can work out how many days, obviously, supply you've got. When that runs out, if you don't get enough, you need to close again?
Well, I made a best guess as to what I might need for 2 months' supply, and then spent several £1,000s on masks, which may prove to be unnecessary in actual fact, because if we look at where the rest of the world who are ahead of us with COVID, their dentists are working with normal masks and normal visors. So everywhere outside of the UK seems to be working and using the masks which they've always had. So it might be that these FFP3 masks are actually a complete red herring. And I'll be passing them on to my builder.
I mean, that's the other question as well, isn't it, Claire? Because basically, in the same way as people used to hoard toilet paper, they panicked and bought too much stuff. Are people buying too much PPE?
I think yes, probably. Yeah, you know, I probably have ordered in way too much and probably won't end up using it all. Yeah. So yeah, and you know.
But going forward, going forward, I think in terms of lessons to be learned, people need to be aware that the industry is not really being consulted by the government, so announcements can be made. What we've learned today as a result of this conversation is that actually they should have consulted you, because then you're forewarned is forearmed. You can make sure necessary steps that you need to take about all the preparation and the cost. You know, it's probably quite expensive to do all this, isn't it?
Yeah. And also the other thing is that you take it's a leap in the dark, because so this mask, it fitted my face, but it didn't fit the face of one of my members of staff. So I could have invested hundreds of pounds in a piece of kit that then subsequently proved useless for all of us, because you haven't got the luxury of time in these situations. So you can't buy one in and test it to see if it fits you and then make an order for 100 of them. You actually just have to take a big leap of faith, order the 100 or 200 masks and hope that they're appropriate for you. So, you know, and necessary.
And this is obviously in private practice. What's happening in hospitals as well? Are they okay, or they've got the same issues?
Well, the hospitals now have a more stable supply, in actual fact. So in my NHS Consultant post, I've been mask fit tested twice for 2 different types of masks, because the first one, the supply ran out. And also now they also have the preference, they get first dibs on the supply chain, put it like that. So Kent Express Dental also sent me an email today saying that they had received a number of FFP3 masks, but they could only offer them to NHS dental practices. So I think it's, you know, well, is it fair enough? Yes, probably is fair enough, but you know, it's certainly, you know, there are a lot of private dentists who at the end of the day have had no financial support beyond the furlough scheme, who are struggling actually, you know, and PPE is the big problem.
Do you get any help from the government in terms of the added investment you've had to make in the practice?
No. I mean, I've taken advantage of the furlough scheme, but beyond that, I haven't had any financial help, not even the relief of business rates in actual fact. So, you know, I mean, you know, I'm in a privileged position of having had a buoyant business with loyal patients and located in a fabulous area. So, and also, of course, my patients, their treatment lasts over a number of months to years. So actually, as an orthodontist, you can survive these bumps in an economic recession because the cash flow on the whole is split over the course of the treatment, or in many cases, people pay in advance. which is great for me because, of course, all I've done is I've protected that sum of money for their ongoing care. But, of course, I thought the big economic hit for me was going to be Brexit. So what has happened, of course, so basically after the referendum, I just maintained the business high in cash so I could survive that period. However, we've been hit before that. So God knows what's to come next hit down the line. But that's not today's worry.
Well, to your credit, you're still going and still smiling, which I always think is good for orthodontists to do. You can show what fantastic teeth you yourself have got, which is always important.
Can you see that a bit whiter?
Absolutely. And for those patients who missed out on the treatments that they would go every 6 weeks, roughly, is there any detrimental effect, or is it generally okay?
I will tell you. I will tell you. I mean, as I did explain in our last chat that I am fundamentally an optimist and believe that providing people maintain a good standard of dental health and they've been careful with their brace, then I have every reason to believe they will have continued to make a degree of progress during this period. And interestingly, a friend of mine, a young orthodontist in Lithuania, who came to me on an Erasmus scholarship placement in 2015, and we've remained good friends. She emailed to say that they've gone back, and she was delighted to see actually in the 3 months that they hadn't seen their patients, the progress was much better than she could have expected. So, fingers crossed I'll be able to report the same.
That's very good news. And last time we very helpfully gave tips about people who've had wires coming out, which are incredibly painful, and various other things. There's a lot of stuff you can do at home, and the videos, just to remind them, tell them where they can go for the videos.
Yes, on the British Orthodontic Society website. It's got great little videos.
They have great little videos which you can use, and again, we're going to put them in the narrative so people can look for that sort of side. In the next episode, tell us what we're going to see.
Okay, well, I'm very excited. So in this period of face-to-face contact, I have been exploring the use of AI and the application of AI in orthodontics. I just started to trial it before lockdown, and I've been able to see some fantastic progress and how some patients have been ongoing monitoring during this period of lockdown. So tomorrow I'm going to share with you how nicely one of my patients in particular has done with Invisalign, and how nicely I've been able to keep tabs on her treatment just through the application of self-scanning and AI.
Claire Nightingale, we very much look forward to that. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us.
A real pleasure, Andrew.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wonderful. So that was Claire Nightingale. She will be back to talk about exciting developments in AI. In the meantime, if you have any comments or any questions you'd like to put, write to me at lol, that's LOL, at octopustv.com. Don't forget, subscribe to Octopus TV for much more of the same. But for me, Andrew Eborn, for now, thank you very much for joining me. Goodbye.